After this was John Deutsch was guaranteed an appointment by Bill Clinton to become the next Secretary of Defense. My confrontation with John Deutsch cost him that appointment. My good friend Dick Gregory, who I just did a radio show with on Thanksgiving Day, called me up and said he said he was talking to some people in Washington, and they just chewed him up one side and down the other because he looked like a fool. Everybody here seen The Wizard of Oz? Everybody here seen The Man Behind the Curtain? We have to get to the man behind the curtain, but it's going to be a little bit scarier than that movie was to do that. So, let's take an approach to September the 11th along the lines of an investigator presenting a case to a grand jury, or along the lines of a detective presenting a case to a district attorney. First of all, who am I? We're going to go through this really quickly. I had the misfortune of being born into a family that was heavily rooted in the intelligence community. My mother was a cryptographer and cryptanalyst for the Army Security Agency and National Security Agency during World War II. She worked for Secretary of State Cordell Hull. She worked on the Japanese and Russian codes. By the way, we did know the Japs were going to attack Pearl Harbor, and we did let it happen. This is evidence that I would present. This is my mother's separation from the NSA in December 1949 because she was going to have babies. She didn't have me until 51. But my dad was also recalled into the Air Force during the Korean War. He went to work for Martin Marietta and went to work on projects like the Titan 3C, which put up all the CIA's keyhole spy satellites. Relatives of my father were OSS, that's the forerunner of CIA, and they were career at CIA in Langley. So everybody in the family had a clearance. I used to come home from school and say, "What's for dinner?" And Mom would say, "I can't tell you." That's a joke, I hope. Now what I need is a way to do this so that I don't get them all whacked up here. Continuing with the presentation, there's a couple of points I want to make here in Portland. This is one of my rating reports from LAPD showing an outstanding rating, showing also that I have, especially in the field of narcotics enforcement and investigative procedures, I was loaned to Wilshire Division Narcotics several times and specialized in narcotics. I was even sent to a training school by the U.S. Department of Justice and the DEA, which I attended. You don't get that for writing parking tickets. And the reason why I say this is because the ranking member of LAPD in the room that day when I confronted John Deutsch told Ted Koppel that I had never worked narcotics. And that got me pulled from a live interview with Ted Koppel. The ranking member of LAPD in the room that day was Deputy Chief Mark Croker. Yeah, I'm having fun already. Now I want to talk about CIA dealing drugs briefly because I have to lay a foundation. You have to understand the economic and the political context in which this war is taking place and in which it is set. And there's two things that if you don't understand, you will never understand September the 11th. One is drugs, the other is oil. Or one is oil, the other is drugs, okay? We want to talk about evidence. We want to talk about proof, okay? This is a memorandum that was written February 11th, 1982 to the Honorable William J. Casey. Everybody remember Bill Casey from Iran-Contra? CIA Director, signed by Attorney General William French Smith. This was at the beginning of the Contra War, very early in the Reagan administration. And something had happened before this. There had been a series of negotiations. Now in the CIA, the highest rung on the food chain is called an officer. If you are a case officer at CIA, you are someone who cannot be disavowed or denied. You are a man of the cloth. You are a man blessed with immunity. The agency will protect you. But underneath that on the food chain,